I said Brett was starting. Where's Brett been the whole time? He's been trying to get the Castaways podcast off the ground. He's getting to it.
And we're live.
What's going on, guys?
Jesus, thank God you said that. I was going to say something stupid. Go ahead. Sorry.
What's going on, guys?
Jesus
Welcome
Christ.
to a 1-year anniversary of Analytically Correct here. We're at Public House, Shamrock Liquors. Rob and very special guest Brett.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
One of the original guys. Big round of applause for Brett for coming back. He's been trying to get the other podcast off the ground this whole time. So
waiting on Rob to finish his 25-minute rant about why the Steelers shouldn't be Super Bowl champions or something terrible. But.
And of course, Stretch here too. I wanted to get to a couple things. We're going to do mostly NFL, the playoff games from last week, and then the playoff games for next week, all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the national championship last night, Clemson and LSU. I don't know how much you guys watched of the game. I don't think Brett got to watch too much of it. Rob, did you watch?
I was working, but I only got to watch the first half of it so far on the replay. But I do owe LSU an apology. Sorry, LSU. I thought you were going to be the same LSU as you are always. Like you're.
Oh,
great
I wasn't
for,
even thinking about that. Yeah, this is Rob's first apology.
Well, no, my first apology came from Lamar Jackson. That was the first one.
I want to get to that later too. I have a lot of stuff to say about people who are shitting on Lamar Jackson.
Don't worry.
I don't know if you're one of them, but
don't worry. I'm willing to hear some of that.
But so just a couple of quick things about the game last night. Obviously LSU. If you didn't see it, LSU won. I'm sure everyone did see it.
They dominated.
But yeah, and then
last quarter and a half.
A couple of things that I think were interesting from that game and from that team, going back to this entire season. And people have been asking today because you have to find a way to talk about it. You know, when Nick Saban wins a championship, it's like, is Nick Saban the best? But you have to find a way to talk about it other than just say, hey, it was a pretty good game. People are talking, are they the best college football team ever? I just wrote down, I don't know, yes or no. Nobody knows. You know, those teams,
We're never going to know.
You can't put them against Vince Young's Texas or like Reggie Bush's USC or anything like that.
Hurricanes team, man.
But this is just like the resume of ranked teams that LSU beat this year. Texas, which was ranked when they played them, by 7 on the road. They beat Florida by 14. They beat Auburn by 3. They beat Alabama on the road by 5. They beat Georgia by 27. They beat Oklahoma by 35. And they beat Clemson by 27 or 17. Sorry, I can't write or read. So I mean, just going off that alone, you know, going into that game, you're playing an SEC schedule, which I hate the narrative that the SEC best
But the
conference.
SEC was the SEC this year, though.
Right.
They were back to being a prominent SEC.
Auburn was awesome. Florida was awesome.
You had 5, 6
Bama was
teams
awesome.
in the
It
SEC.
is indisputable. Like I hate the narrative.
Georgia
that
was awesome.
The only conference that plays football is the SEC. That's not true. Like, but if you go back and look at it from the last 10 years, 6 SEC championships, 3 ACC, and 1 Big Ten.
Who's the Big Ten guy?
If I may.
I don't know.
So just the SEC West since 2010. 2010 national championship. 2011 national championship with LSU as the runner-up. 2012 national championship. 2013 runner-up. 2014 Alabama got beat in the semis, so sorry about that. Fuck Ohio State.
Yeah.
2015 national championship. 2016 national championship runner-up. 17 championship. 18 runner-up, and the 19 championship. That's just the SEC West.
Because the SEC East had Missouri,
SEC West.
the Missouri representing a couple of years out in there. So like the SEC
No,
East has been.
Missouri's in the East. Yeah,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like in the SEC, that's what I'm saying. That SEC East is like hasn't been like they got more up to speed. I would say now with Florida looking better, with Georgia looking better on that. But you don't have as many SEC East teams really represented. It is the West right now because there are teams that are still going to be on. Like I still think A&M's on the come up still within that division.
We'll see. I mean,
well, they got another top 10.
I was only laughing because of the Jimbo Fisher thing. I was just thinking back about it.
Yeah, they have another top 10 recruiting class that's finishing out to be. So it's like, you know what?
This is why divisions in conferences are the dumbest thing that has ever happened to college sports, because as a Gator fan, there's no reason, let's say we'd won the East, which I mean, we had a very good shot at. The only two teams we lost to were the 2 teams in the SEC championship game. So let's just say we'd won the East. We had no business being in the SEC championship game. It should have been Bama LSU. Mm-hmm. Why not put the best 2 fucking teams in the championship? Why am I even having to ask this fucking question? Well, because we got the East, you know, we got a limping in Georgia, and a backup quarterback in Florida.
Why does Clemson have to play Virginia?
Case in point right there. By the way, with the rankings that ended yesterday, the AAC had more teams. Shout out to UCF, who thinks that I hate UCF, had triple the teams that ACC had in the top 25.
Yeah, but
ACC had Clemson.
How many of those AAC teams would honestly like consistently be able to play
That's
against?
not the point. You're totally right on that.
I'm
But the
just saying
fact
that,
of the matter is that at the end of the year, top 25 is Cincinnati, Navy, and UCF in the top 25, and all you got is Clemson, ACC. Just so you know. Now, the Big Ten had more than the SEC, so just for the haters out there,
yeah,
just letting you know.
To be fair, going back to just the LSU Clemson thing, LSU was either somewhere in the top 2, 3, 4 for the entire season.
Yeah.
I think they kind of went wire to wire as one of the best teams to start the season. What were they? They were
start the season. I thought they were 7. I thought they were like ranked 7.
Yeah. But when they played us, I think it was like 5 or 7.
Yeah, like it was, but they were like.
For most of the season, they were
wire to wire.
For most of the not number one, but for most of the season, they were thought of as one of the best teams. And one of the weird parts about that team is the Joe Burrow thing, and the fact that he's 23. It's like
400 to 1 odds, man, to win a Heisman.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like Brandon Whedon-esque, and like one of the takes I heard was that the reason he did so well is like 4 years older than most of the people he's playing against, which is one part of it. But for him to go from Ohio State and then transfer. And then he wasn't this at Ohio State, and he wasn't even this for LSU last year.
He wasn't better than he was. Like, when you look at that roster that won the national championship, when you look at JT Cardale, and you look at and what's his face, the other one, the original
JT Barrett.
No, not JT. Braxton Miller.
Yeah.
When you look at those three, all three of those guys were better quarterbacks than Burrow was when he was coming in. Burrow comes in, it's like he wasn't better than an Ohio State quarterback. Like,
and then Justin Fields comes, he's like, "Fuck this."
Yeah, it's like and I understand that he may be
not
really
doing
good
it
this
again.
year. But my biggest thing with LSU too is we don't talk about LSU. Like LSU's always had the talent. They've never had the quarterback and the consistent coaching that they've always needed. Because when you look at the draft picks, they always have is not more than just as much as Alabama does in the first round and in the college football the past 10 years.
You can say that about a lot of teams, though. I mean,
but LSU is leading in those categories with having first round picks and overall draft picks the last 10 years. So it's not like LSU having talent is new, but them having a quarterback that can really play is almost similar to like Tua coming to Alabama. It gives you that new
just going to
effect.
say the same thing. It's like they finally figured out, oh, hey, if we can be dominant, and then if we have an actual quarterback, we can actually be super dominant.
Because they've always had a great defense. There are athletes all over. There were times,
no one's denying that for sure.
They had, just 2 years ago, they had DJ Chark over at LSU as a wide receiver. You see what he did in Jacksonville this year as a wide receiver. They had OBJ and Jarvis on the same team at a point. They've had some talent on that group, but
and then just to continue like the narrative of LSU's dominance this year, to beat a Clemson team like that, and Clemson has probably 3 receivers that are going to go in the first round at some point, and Travis Etienne might go in the first round. Trevor Lawrence is going to be the first overall pick next year, most likely. But for Joe Burrow to do that, and then against, like you could say Clemson didn't really play many people this season. You cannot say that about LSU with the record I just said. No. And then Joe Burrow in this game, 5 touchdowns, no picks.
He's shredded that defense.
It's especially the way he started out too. That's pretty much with only 3 quarters, because the first quarter he didn't do too much.
No.
But
at the very way he threw 2 touchdown passes in the last 60 seconds
of the first quarter.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first quarter started off slow.
First 14 minutes. Because
I had Clemson money line, and I was feeling pretty good to start off with. LSU didn't look great. I know it was partly because of their field position. I think one of the other big things that swung that game was T. Higgins, who's like the best.
T. Higgins.
The best Clemson receiver.
Please wear a star in your helmet next year.
He kind of got hurt, and that kind of swung the game because they do have weapons, but that was like Lawrence's go-to guy.
Higgins all year, and I've said in the past couple of podcasts, when you watch Higgins play, it's very rare you find these guys that are 6'4", 40-inch vert, 440s that can come out there and just be playmakers. Like Jared Judy's the big talk over in CD Lamb in Oklahoma, but when you look at Higgins, man, Higgins does bring the size and the athleticism, his end around, his ability to run with the ball as well, to take off and take. Just when you take away a weapon like that is a big thing, because that was the one weapon that LSU was having trouble with was Higgins. It's just a guy that you would have trouble with, that any team would have trouble with, because his just physical ability on top of his athletic ability. When you just watch Lawrence play this year, it just looked. And my biggest thing with Trevor, because I'm still going to believe Trevor Lawrence is still going to be the better NFL prospect than Burrow, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think I really do. I think Lawrence is going to be the better prospect than Burrow is in the NFL coming. Like
prospect or better player. player.
Like down the
Wow,
yeah.
I don't even think that's that far-fetched because before this season, Joe Burrow was not even looked at as a first-round pick. And Trevor Lawrence, if he came out after his freshman season, would have been a number 1 overall.
I mean, he was the Burrow. I mean, because when Burrow came out, I don't know what his ranking was, but I know Lawrence was the number 2 quarterback overall, right behind Fields.
Right.
I didn't always agree with that, but we're talking about 1 and 2.
Right, no, of course. Well, let me go ahead and just say this, and it actually kind of backs up both L's points. So obviously, Burrow wasn't awful before that at LSU.
No,
he had pretty darn good years. I think he did like 25 and 9 or something his junior year. Just to back my point up and my personal opinion up is why I think he will be an absolute stud in the NFL. And I don't say this about a lot of guys, but you had y'all's boy Joe Brady, we were just talking about. Guy was offensive coordinator 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He went to the pros last year, so he came back this year. He's an offensive style, just a passing coach. He's not even an offensive coordinator. Passing coach.
Passing game coordinator.
Whatever, yeah. So that's only, so we just for this year, so it's not like Burrow was awful before that. And I could totally see that if it was like, well, with drastic things. But in my opinion, seeing the numbers that he put up, even more so than he had in the years before with a pro-style offense. Now, granted, you have to give it a lot to his wide receivers. I know that his starting running back got hurt before the SEC championship or whatever, but in my opinion, I think that lets me know that he's going to be an absolute stud in the NFL. Nothing against Trevor Lawrence. I just think that he might be kind of like, I'm an asshole. Jets.
Darnold. But my thing with Darnold you have to look at the situation with Darnold. It's like we're looking at Robbie Anderson's his best offensive player next to Le'Veon Bell with the bad O-line. It's like there's just not a lot there. But Darnold as a prospect as a whole was a very good prospect coming
out of a prestigious USC, a big, They were definitely not as good as Clemson. I'll definitely give you that 100%.
We'll get more into the NFL a little bit later, but my first thought with Joe Brady going to the Panthers, that whole thing, if you know you're the Bengals and you know you have the first pick and you know you're going to take Burrow,
I was just thinking
why
about
wouldn't the
that
Bengals try to hire Joe Brady? Try to keep those guys together.
I do think the Panthers are going to make a hard run at that number 1 pick right now. And it's not like they're a first-round pick.
The Panthers?
Oh, yeah.
Where are they picking right now?
I believe they're picking like 6 or 7.
Probably getting Cam, right?
Well, not only that, Cam's in his last year to where it's like.
Would you trade Cam for the number 1 pick?
No,
yeah,
Cam,
Cam doesn't want to be there because that's Rivera's
But
boy.
if you're the Bengals, would you trade the number 1 pick for Cam?
No, I think they're gonna cut Cam to save $31 million, and that's when they're gonna send draft picks over.
I know I was wrong at the beginning of the season. I said that I don't think Cam would be anywhere besides the Panthers next year, and I'm going to be wrong about that.
Yeah.
But any team is going to be lucky to have if he comes back healthy. That's like an MVP type quarterback. He was having an MVP season before he got hurt. I know he always has injury issues, but people are just writing him off like it's like the end of his career.
But you do have a new coaching staff now. It's no longer Rivera. It's like there's a new staff. When you look at, like you said, with bringing in Burrow coming in over there, they have the draft picks to move over and try to move up. Does Cincinnati trade that pick? I think no, because he's an Ohio guy.
Yeah,
they need a quarterback. I think it's almost like I think that alone is already set and sealed. But I could see Carolina trying to make a move over, trying to get Burrow right now.
And if Cincinnati was smart, I would think about trading it because unless you absolutely think Burrow's your guy, it depends what you can get for it. But if you can get like 3 first-round picks for a team and you just move back to 6, there's other quarterbacks you can pick.
Herbert, Tua,
Tua, I think will wind up going to like the Dolphins.
Miami,
Can I just throw out something really quick? This is something I guess in my older age that I've often kind of thought about is. And this is not the sexy pick, but so let's say you get Burrow, who, again, in all our minds is a top 2 quarterback in the draft. It doesn't have to be number 1, whatever. But if you get him, you don't have a great offensive line. You have a okay running game. If AJ Green's there, you have a middle of the line wide receiver core at best.
Yeah.
A decent tight end, so I'll give him that. Why not? And again, this is just hypothetically speaking. Why not give up draft picks for offensive line people, and then, or just almost anything else? Like I think it would almost be a waste, in my opinion, to get Joe Burrow and just have him waste away
before you get the line and everything.
Because if you don't have an offensive line, you can't run, and if you don't have an offensive line, you can't pass. And to my knowledge, those are the only 2 things you could do.
It's back to the Jets and the Sam Darnold situation. Like you said, you're going to get a young, great prospect, and you're going to surround him with nothing, and you're just going to make his upbringing a lot tougher.
I don't think he's a great prospect, but you're totally right. I mean, you're exactly. That point is totally right.
The top quote-unquote prospect.
I thought you were going to say that 2000 wasn't just. I thought, when they drafted DeBrickashaw Ferguson and Nick Mangold in the first 2 rounds, and that made fucking Mark Sanchez back-to-back AFC title games.
Yeah.
Mark Sanchez has no fucking business being in the AFC title games. Yeah. He has no business. But because you got these 2 fucking studs, arguably Hall of Famers, blocking for him, if you can't block, you can't pass, you can't block, you can't run. I don't understand. So it's a sexy pick with Burrow,
I was going to get into the baseball stuff, but transitioning what you're saying about Burrow going to the Bengals and the whole offensive line thing before you get the quarterback, I wanted to start talking about one of the more boring games that was of the NFL. Out of the 4 games, one was like not as good, which was the Niners and Vikings game. But if you look at the game, and you look at the teams, the Niners were so bad a couple of years ago. They had high top-round picks, and this is who they had, and they rebuilt through offensive and defensive line, and then they got Garoppolo, which was kind of
fell in their lap a little bit.
They got the 3 defensive linemen who, if you look back at it, it's like, damn, that's their defensive line. It's like all studs: DeForest Buckner, Bosa, and then Solomon Thomas. Like you
they
said,
got Joe Staley this year.
all top 10 picks, and they got McGlinchey too, who's an offensive lineman.
Joe Staley.
But building like that, and then look at what like John Lynch did, and then you have Shanahan, who's like one of the better offensive-minded coaches in the league. Robert Saleh, who was talked about as maybe getting an offensive or a head coaching shot this year.
I really thought he showed up too, man.
There's only one thing holding him back. I can't think about what it is, but all that kind of stuff.
That might be even a little bit harder too for him.
So rebuilding a team like that, like you're saying, obviously works. And then the opposite way is if you look at the Cardinals with Kyler Murray, kind of the way that they have nothing else besides.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
great point. Yeah.
And then. But other than that game, if you want to get back into recapping those games, the Vikings and Niners game, it wasn't the best game by the Niners, but I think looking at the lines for like possible Super Bowl matchups, people are projecting the Niners and the Chiefs in there. I don't know what you guys think about that whole thing. If you watched any of the Niners-Vikings games.
I gotta watch the Niners-Vikings game.
No one said that the Niners, and this isn't, sorry, I'm just saying, like, I thought it was perfect. You said it wasn't their best game. There's one or 2 games that the Niners have been like, holy shit, this team is the best team. Nobody, they don't blow anybody up, they don't allow anybody behind them.
Yeah.
And then they score 20-something points a game.
Kittle didn't have a great game. I mean, I think Coleman was over 100 yards, but I look back at the stats. They held Dalvin Cook. So like, if you're gonna win, they held
more like to 22 yards or something.
They held him to like 9 yards rushing and like 18 yards receiving, or vice versa, one of those 2. But if you're holding that guy to that, I think, and to project into the next round with
Zeke probably would have ran for about $110, but
if they would have made the playoffs.
Well, I'm sure
best running back in football.
Somehow their OC got a head coaching job after that game.
Unfucking believable.
How's their head coaching job? How's their OC get a head coaching job after that game?
I was hoping we would avoid the Browns, but that's insanity.
And this is
insanity.
This is what we do. We'll jump around.
It's insane.
But you want to say that what he did in that one game, and I really wanted to get to
all year too, though.
Okay, but what do you mean? Like, how does he not deserve a head coaching job?
Because he was inconsistent all year. Like, remember when Kirk Cousins was getting called out?
Kirk Cousins is his quarterback.
Hold on, I don't want to hear that because it's still better than just about every quarterback in this NFL outside of maybe the top 3 NFL.
Do what you do.
But all in all, like, when you look at this guy, when Kirk Cousins is getting called out, 2 games in a row, he threw the ball less than 15 times.
Kevin Stefanski is a good offensive coordinator.
He didn't look like it this year.
Based on 1 year. Based on he's never had a head coaching job. He had an offensive coaching job 1 fucking year. The guy was a special teams guy before that. How the fuck is he a head coach candidate? It makes no fucking sense.
You guys let Freddie Kitchens be your head coach. You can give Kevin Stefanski.
We'll take that. We'll take that all day long. That doesn't mean that we're wrong about saying this.
I thought Saleh should have been their head coach over there.
He's a bad How is he a bad offensive coordinator?
I wanted Josh Daniels.
See, now the reason why I thought he's not a great offensive coordinator because a lot of the troubles they had in the passing game were not Kirk Cousins because they were not throwing the ball. This year, early in the year, they were making a point to run the ball a lot because last year they weren't running the ball enough. That's why what's his face?
Well, I think
Jim Bob Cooter got not Jim Bob. Oh, but who was the OC over there? Not Cooter. It was the OC of Minnesota got fired last year by week 15. He got fired by week 15 because they didn't run the ball enough. This year they overran the ball. Why Dalvin Cook was hurt this year by the end of the year too.
Okay, let's just say that he was a good offensive coordinator. Let's say that you're wrong, which you're not.
Yeah.
Let's say that he was an awesome offensive coordinator. Let's say that he was the best one in the league. Let's say that. Does that mean that he deserves to be the head coach? The guy's never called a timeout in his entire life. Okay. How the fuck does he deserve to be ahead of arguably the most talented team in the AFC?
Andy Reid is not a great in-game coach, and he's one of the better head coaches in the league.
That guy has called a billion. That guy has been the head coach since Nam.
I say Andy Reid may be the second best head coach.
But just because you've never called a timeout and never been a head coach doesn't mean you can't be a good head coach.
So that means that's why they hired Freddie Kitchens, right? That's why they hired Freddie Kitchens, right? Freddie Kitchens sucked. Freddie Kitchens.
But that's what happens when you let a rookie quarterback pick your head coach. That's what happens. That's what you get. That's why he was because Baker Mayfield looked how he did in the second half of the season.
So they were wrong for hiring a rookie head coach last year, but they were right for hiring.
No, they were wrong. They were wrong for letting the rookie quarterback pick his head coach. Why?
It wasn't his pick. He did well when he was the offensive coordinator.
And he liked him as well.
Things. Yeah. You're not wrong on that part. I just think that I don't think he picked him. I just think that Baker trusted him, and the Browns' upper management, Dorsey may have made.
The reason why the hire does make somewhat sense though is because you guys do have a similar offense, and you have a Nick Chubb who's a Dalvin Cook, you have an Odell Beckham and a Jarvis Landry, which is similar to a Diggs and a Thielen.
Similar, but I would say better. But I'll buy it.
I'll buy it as well.
No, you're right. You're right.
You have the molding there to where the offense can be similar, where you're more run supporter, going after with the run, but you can pass around, you can move around. I do think Kirk's light years better than Baker, but
do you think he's a good head coach?
I don't.
No one's right or wrong.
The head coaching I want you guys to get solid. That's what I want you guys to get. And he wasn't a head coach before, but I thought he would have brought more discipline. Would have been a great defensive front for you guys.
Cleveland was 20th in offensive DVOA, and Minnesota was 10th. So you're upgrading there immediately. And whether you like it or not, that's the way the NFL is now. Is the fifth best offensive coordinator is going to get a head coaching opportunity ahead of the best defensive coordinator because the league is going more offensive. So Robert Saleh is not going to get a job ahead of a top 10 or however you want to call Stefanski. But people who talk about the NFL and talk to coaches and stuff like that think that he's a good offensive mind.
He's gonna run into a buzzsaw because if you look at the stats, a lot of Browns fans say, well, if Baker just had time, he would be good. Baker with time was the second worst quarterback in the league.
Pisses you off, right? He was just saying that I have the DVOAs and Baltimore's 1, Dallas is barely behind Baltimore. Number 2. We need an entire separate podcast for you two just to talk about the Cowboys.
Anyways, but did you hear what I said?
On a therapy couch.
They did. It's fine. But did you hear what I said though? So like most Browns fans will say that if Baker just had fucking time, then he would be fine. Baker with time was like the second or third worst quarterback in the league. So I don't give a shit if it's fucking Jimmy Johnson coaching the Browns. If we can't protect, which I touched on earlier. It's not going to matter. You can have all the time. You can have the Nick Chubbs, Odells, you have the Bakers, and Baker, quite frankly, is terrible.
Brett comes back. How is it the playoffs and we're talking about the Browns? What is this?
When you guys traded for Olivier Vernon, that did hurt you guys a lot because you did give up some offensive line on that one too. That's my biggest thing with you guys.
Also didn't have Joe Thomas retiring as well, but
no, I didn't know that either. But I mean, he gave.
Well, if he came back now, he'd have to play like slot receiver or something. He's like 180 pounds.
He's big, sexy now. Dude.
Baker is not the answer.
And look what
Baker's not the
answer.
answer.
Pat Shurmur went from the head coach of the Giants. What did anybody see for him to go to offensive coordinator of the Broncos?
Because he was a better offensive coordinator when he was with Minnesota. There are guys who are not coaches, they're coordinators, and that is what Shurmur is. Like, there are guys like, Wade Phillips is not a head coach.
Wade Phillips is not a head coach.
He's a coordinator.
He's on the bottle of barbecue sauce. He's the face on the bottle of barbecue sauce.
Romeo Crennel.
Yeah.
Not a great head coach.
Great coordinator.
Good coordinator.
Falls asleep in Thanksgiving.
Who doesn't?
He doesn't say. Hold on.
Okay, other than talk about the Browns and the Cowboys and teams that are not in the playoffs, I don't know about you guys, and I have no idea what your opinion is on this, and I'm excited to hear about it live, is people hating on Lamar Jackson, saying he had one, and I don't know if Chase is still watching, he had one bad game, and Chase specifically, I hope he's still watching, my friend Chase, who always watches, said Lamar Jackson should not get the MVP. I'm like, first of all, it's a regular season award.
He had more than one bad game. I mean, he didn't throw for over 100 yards in the
Right. And that'll get me into the Tannehill thing later. But Lamar Jackson, to say that, having one bad game, people are like, he had one bad game, and then last year was a bad playoff game.
He had like 3 or 4 bad games this year. He lost. Well, first of all, he lost twice. Once to the Browns.
But you can't. Okay. So what are we considering as bad games?
And because they scored on the last play of the game, which would have been 40 to like 17.
You can't just give the quarterback.
Not that I watched the game. Right?
You can't give the quarterback credit for wins and blame for losses, and then when he puts up 488 yards of offense, not give him credit for a good game. So when you say he didn't have a good game, but they won 12 in a row, you can't say they weren't all good games. And then when they lose, it's all because of him for putting up 480
Terry
yards.
Bradshaw never had a good game. Terry Bradshaw won 4 Super Bowls, and he never had a good game in his entire life.
Trent Dilfer. I mean, Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl.
Trent Dilfer never won 4 Super Bowls. He won 1 with the fucking Ravens, only because
That's
he
what
had
I'm
to
saying.
face. Because to quote the fucking murderer Ray Lewis, he said, "Well, look, Trent Dilfer got to face the Ravens, 2001's Ravens defense every day in practice."
So
that's the only reason why that happened.
Before I went off on my tangent, are either one of you guys on that side of Lamar Jackson is?
No, he's still the MVP. He's still the MVP.
Not just that because it's a regular season award, but it somehow you're like, oh, you lost both of your playoff games. Isn't that? Dude, he's in his fucking second. He's younger than Joe Burrow. He's younger than Joe Burrow. He's in his second season. Can we give him a break? Like, Mark Ingram was hurt.
But here's my problem when everyone's talking about that. My biggest issue, and I've said this a couple times on here. It's like, when we look at Lamar Jackson, this is the first of it starting. You're going to figure out that offense. You're going to figure out how it works. And you're going to figure out how to stop him. And this is what we're starting to realize now. And I think when you really look at it, it's like, yeah.
But they didn't stop him. He had 488 yards.
They stopped him. They scored 12 points.
Okay, but that's not all on him.
But
you can't just give him all the blame for the loss.
Yeah, you can. When you're a quarterback, you're all the blame for the wins. You're all the blame for all the credit for the win.
So Tannehill gets
all
the credit for the wins of the Titans.
Until you can throw the Tan, but Tannehill's being raved about all over ESPN right now.
No, he's not.
Yes,
everybody's making fun of him for getting less than 100 passing yards.
But he's still being raved about because how much better the team has been with him.
He was technically the most efficient quarterback.
Because he can throw more than 15 yards. Mariota has a wet noodle. There's nothing he can do about that.
My Tannehill take is that he's doing exactly what they asked him to do.
Yeah,
and
be efficient.
How different is that from Tom Brady?
Because Tom Brady won an MVP multiple times. He's thrown 50 touchdowns
this season or last season.
Tom Brady this season had less to work with.
Tannehill's best receiver, and that he's good, is A.J. Brown, but he's a rookie.
Who's Tom Brady's best receiver? He's a 5'9" slot receiver.
Who people are saying should be in the Hall of Fame for jumping on cars.
But those are people that are just raving about that because of the moment. But like in all reality, like when we look at Tom had a first-round pick that missed the majority of the year. And to be honest with you, was he really a first-round pick?
And when you look at those two, when they have N'Keal Harry, look at Deebo Samuel, look at DK Metcalf. Would have been the Patriots.
And Metcalf.
Don't lose. That's what is it?
If they had.
If the Patriots don't lose to the Dolphins in Week 17, or if they have anybody other than, if you just take a dartboard and put all the receivers that were taken and throw it, anybody's better than N'Keal Harry. Their season would have been entirely different.
But I also think that McDaniels does run a more sophisticated, offense than other teams do. Like when you're watching what the Seattle Seahawks are doing, their receivers aren't necessarily going out there and having to learn, going out there and play nearly as much. It wasn't until the last couple weeks where Metcalf really did make that step up. Because even the last game he played in, it was
Lockett's the more reliable guy.
But against Philly.
But people were saying that Metcalf was like a combine freak, and he had the neck injury, so that'll give anybody pause. But he was. Him and Samuel, who was better? A.J. Brown, all these guys, they could have had anybody else.
And that just comes, but like I said, that comes down to draft. But we're not going to look at Tom Brady and think when it comes to Fisher and Ryan, because Tannehill did win some games. Like I said, him being able to actually be a vertical threat in the offense was the difference maker. Mariota hasn't been a vertical threat. Even in Oregon, he wasn't tossing the ball all over the place. He was quickly moving the ball in and out, moving around through a spread offense.
And when he did, it was because they brought 9 in the box.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, it was. And I do look at obviously Henry, and Henry's the reason why offensively, but that defense in Tennessee's not getting enough love either, though. That's one big thing.
They just shut down Lamar Jackson. Mark Ingram was hurt, and people don't talk enough about that. If they have,
he's got 7 other All-Pros on the team, so I really want to hear that one.
That was crazy, and too. If you guys heard that stat in that game, there was 5 Heisman Trophy winners in that game.
Yeah.
RG3 doesn't technically count because he wasn't really playing, and Mariota sucks, so whatever. But it was a cool stat.
But all in all, I think it's people are killing Lamar, but I think the defense in Tennessee does need to get more praise for what they've been able to do. Mike Vrabel needs to get more praise 100%. For what they've been able to do because it wasn't against just them. They also stopped New England. New England wasn't looking amazing offensively last year either, and they still won the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl 13-3 last year.
They overcame the biggest Super Bowl deficit of all time.
Yeah, you look at that offense as a whole, they haven't been really amazing in years past, but their defense has been, when you look at Tennessee's defense and what they've been able to do so far, it has looked top tier. And if they beat Kansas City this week, I don't think they will, but if they do, now you are really looking at this defense needs to start really getting the conversation they should.
I'm only going to say, and the only reason that the defense doesn't get the conversation they should is because nobody knows anybody on that defense.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they're not good. It's just they don't.
Kenny Vaccaro doesn't take any anymore, so that's the only reason why.
they don't have those like household names and stuff. It doesn't mean that they're not good.
They're well
like
coached and they all discipline and they all play in there. So there's not a selfish person on that defense.
And think what you want about like the whole Lamar Jackson, that offense thing. When I said last week on the podcast, I was like, if Tennessee, and it's the most obvious, it sounds obvious, but when you say if Tennessee gets ahead, they have a really good chance because they can just run Derrick Henry to death, and that's exactly what they did. They got up 14-0.
Wow, really? Sorry, he just told me Kuechly retired. I didn't realize that.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
I thought he was fucking around. Is that true?
Too many concussions? That would be really random if it wasn't true.
Just happened.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, he had 7 million
Well, that
concussions.
fucking Pat Lewis, bro,
dude.
or Pat,
He was what was that? Not another team. Maybe you have 2 concussions left.
Willis.
Can he play?
Pat Willis.
You know what's crazy is Luke Kuechly and Antonio Gates retired on the same day.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And Antonio Gates started his career like 10, 15 years earlier.
Tougher. That's why.
Old school. But yeah, speaking of like the whole outscoring thing and all that kind of stuff, getting into the Chiefs game, it's the most obvious thing in the world, and it's easy to say now when the game was over, but I have the group chat to prove it when we were talking about it. And they were up 21-0 and then 24-0, and the game kind of swung. I'm talking about Texans-Chiefs. The game kind of swung on that, whatever the fuck Bill O'Brien was doing, starting to go for it on 4th down, called a timeout, didn't go for it, kicked a field goal, and then a lot of stuff went Houston's way to go up early in that game.
Oh yeah.
And then it was just, I don't know if you probably saw the memes, but it's like the Night King from Game of Thrones going like this, and it's Mahomes going like this, like pumping up the crowd, and it's just like, you never seen a team celebrate more down 24-7 than when the Chiefs scored their first touchdown.
The thing is, like,
and you knew they were coming back. You know how they knew? As a betting man, live betting in that, I want to look at the Chiefs to come back, plus 250.
Yeah. Also at home in the second quarter.
Plus
still.
two, plus, but
I
plus
put
250.
75 to win. I put 75 to win 215 when they were down 24.
To put it into context, plus 250 if you don't bet means 2.5 to 1. To start the game, the Titans were like 4 times worse odds going against the Ravens. Mm-hmm. And everyone knew that the Chiefs were going to come back. Nobody knew they were going to do it in a single quarter, but Patrick Mahomes kind of wrestled back the narrative from Lamar Jackson this season. And granted, he has an extra year on him and all that kind of stuff. But
that is true, though. I mean,
he's going to pull a Witten.
Like, yeah, Witten, yeah, exactly.
Oh, God, don't do that.
Another thing I was wrong on, not to bring it back to the Cowboys, but I said you guys hired like the most expensive tight ends coach in the league, and Witten actually had a decent season.
Yeah, he did.
Anyways, enough about
Better than what we had.
Enough
I mean,
about
his
Jason
fumble
Witten.
against the Saints was really timely, but we'll go off on that.
But is there any other
We also didn't
quarterback?
score a touchdown that entire game. So.
Is there any other quarterback besides Deshaun Watson when you're watching every game and the hype around him is? And I understand that he's good, but is there any other quarterback you watch when it's like, why is this guy's team not better? Why are they not winning more? I mean, you talk about weapons and stuff like that. Hey, look who he has.
Sean Watson.
Yeah,
Deshaun Watson.
DeAndre Hopkins.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Like
Will Fuller.
Will Fuller.
T.
Like,
Will Fuller is not one of the better two guys in the league,
he's
though.
a very solid
when he's healthy,
Solid, but I mean, he's not as good as Gallup.
Yes, he is.
No.
He's better than
No, absolutely not.
When he's healthy, the entire Houston team is.
Gallup can run more routes than he can, but Gallup's also only in his second year, too. Like,
And I don't have a lot of stats to prove this because Gallup's in his second fucking year, but Gallup's.
I
okay,
still think
Landry's better than both those guys. That's a fucking number 2.
Landry is like so. I don't know.
Most people say Landry's the number 1 wide receiver, but yet he's our number 2, and I always get crucified because I say Landry
you guys turned
is not
Odell
number
Beckham
1.
into a number 3. So.
But I'm just saying,
Credit to you.
like Landry. Most people say Landry's the number 1. Most Dolphins fans say he's the number 1.
yeah.
It's so funny if you look.
So now he's not as good as Will Fuller, but he's also number 1. So I don't know what's going on here.
I never said Jarvis Landry was better than Will Fuller. I mean,
you sat there and thought.
I was doing something else.
Oh, sorry.
Spacing out. He catches a lot of passes, but would
Yeah,
I rather have Jarvis Landry or Will Fuller if they're both guaranteed healthy for a season? I would rather have Will Fuller.
I mean, see, the thing with Fuller, I don't like receivers.
I can look up stats. Will Fuller missed a bunch of games, and
I just don't like receivers that just can like only run 2 routes. But I see what you're saying on a stance to when he is
Okay,
fully
so Randy
healthy.
Moss sucks.
No, but
Randy Moss won 1 route. No one can guard it.
I mean, I like Terrell Owens more than Randy Moss, but that's just me.
Terrell Owens is top 3 wide receiver.
He was on your side too. What are you sideswiping him for?
No. I do like Terrell Owens more than Randy. Like Terrell was more of a complete receiver. When T.O. was upset, he would actually play.
I know all the
T.O.
Jerry Rice
dropped
stuff.
a
Randy Moss is the best receiver of
I'm a
all
huge
time.
T.O. guy.
But
Huge
he's also,
T.O. guy.
I mean, he's second in this, third in this, second in that. But somehow didn't make the All-Decade team. I don't get that one. Makes no
Jarvis
sense.
Landry and Will Fuller, are we talking about this? Is this an actual conversation?
No, Jarvis
Will
Landry's
Fuller
numbers
is
were
like
really
the
good this year.
45th best wide receiver in the league. Jarvis Landry is like the 12th.
Jarvis Landry is 19th. First of all, I'm looking at it right now.
19 in what? In your standings? What fucking column are you on?
I'm looking at receptions.
Okay,
and
so
that's like
19th in
best.
receptions.
What do you
because
want me to look at?
people are on Hopkins. Jarvis Landry is Jarvis Landry led the league in receptions for like 4. Jarvis Landry set the fucking record for most receptions in the first like 4 years of his career with a shitty fucking Dolphins team. Sorry to interrupt, but now he went to fucking Cleveland, and now he's the number 2 guy. Not even the number 1. He's not even getting all the targets, and then he's still fucking crushed.
So if I catch 700 2-yard passes, that means I'm like the all-time reception leader. Like,
well, if you play for the Patriots,
I don't care if you're on.
I
don't care if you're on the Dolphins and you're always in garbage time.
Okay, so 1 catch for 70 yards is better than 15 catches for 80.
Yes,
76.
Yes, it is because a 1 catch 70.
So you're a Deshaun Jackson guy and not a Reggie Wayne guy.
You just said a 1 catch for 70 yards. That's probably a touchdown. 15 catches.
Probably. Well, he said probably. I didn't say that.
15 catches for 80 yards. That could be 15 garbage time catches.
That could be 15 touchdowns, according to you. The 1 to 70. 1 equals a touchdown.
I think it's a weird argument because I don't think either one of them is a number 1
Jarvis
receiver.
Landry.
He's a number 1.
Is
so if they had Odell.
Jarvis Landry is number 1 on a bunch of teams. Will Fuller is number 1 on like 2. Maybe that. Maybe number 2.
Cincinnati this year.
I'm just saying, if you look at the stats with Houston,
I like John Ross, but man,
if you look at the stats with Houston with and without Will, he's terrible. Okay, if you look at the stats with Houston with and without Will Fuller, they're an entirely different team.
Vertically, they definitely are. I mean, it shows like he's had a couple games here where he had multiple touchdowns.
He's like Ted Ginn.
He's not Ted Ginn can't catch the ball. Will Fuller's only not because he can't stay healthy.
Yeah, that
Other than that, he's a really good receiver.
Yeah. So that way your argument has no merit. Well, we don't know because he's always hurt, but I'm telling you he's awesome. So I'm wrong because my guy's always healthy. I'm wrong because Landry's healthy all the time.
I mean, that's
Landry's putting up the numbers, but I'm wrong because your guy, if he would have been in, would have had more. That's a fucking Pete Rose argument.
So what stats do you want me to look up? Because receptions, he's 19th. So if you're a number 1 receiver, you're 19th. You're a bottom half as a number 1
What's
receiver.
Landry?
You mean Fuller?
Fuller, either one.
I just said Landry's 19. I can't find Fuller. He's hurt. So.
I can't find him either. No one knows where he is.
Nobody knows where he is.
Neither does Deshaun Watson. You can't fucking find him.
You guys talk. Give me a second. Let me look him up.
Okay, I'll talk. Will Fuller is fucking terrible. Will Fuller the 4th, is terrible. If he walks in right now, look, man, you're a great talent, awesome job. Don't give a fuck. You're not. Jarvis Landry is what we're talking about over Will Fuller. Are you like just trying to get ratings at this time? Because you know you want to be on my side. You know this, right?
Will Fuller yards per game 60. Jarvis Landry 73. So he's good for 1 extra 13-yard catch. It's that big of a difference.
How many third downs does he catch? Okay, so he's good for 4 catches, 60 yards. Landry's good for 15 and 74 yards or whatever. But 8 of those are first downs across the middle. I might add. And he had more touchdowns than a number 1 wide receiver. This is a 1 year, too. What are we talking about? The fucking career? It's
Will Fuller catch percent 69%. Jarvis Landry 60%.
Yeah, awesome because that makes no sense because Will Fuller got thrown to 14 times. Jarvis Landry got thrown to 600 times. That's insanity.
You don't look at the targets.
I'm looking at the targets and the catches now. So, you want to make this a Will Fuller? You want to make this a Will Fuller versus Jarvis Landry podcast?
I'll do it all day. Watching. That's what I want more than anything else.
He's like, that's right. I am better than Jarvis Landry.
Unbelievable. I'm gonna need like 10 more of these.
All right, we got targets here and then receptions.
Mike Williams. See, that's a good one from Will Fuller's. Mike Williams. That is the perfect one right there.
138.
Mike Williams.
138 targets.
Yes.
138 targets for Landry, 83 catches. So for nobody's listening anymore.
138.
71 for Landry.
But he was hurt. Almost double. I don't know if you know what's.
But how many games have Will Fuller
That's what I'm saying. He missed.
How many games have Will Fuller
Even the games he didn't miss, he's hurt a lot of the time.
But how many games did he miss? How many games did he start? How many games did he play?
Now we're getting dragged way too deep.
No. We've already brought catch percentage into it.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. I'm going to ask about starting games now.
Jarvis Landry led the. Okay, so name me one record that Will Fuller broke. Name me one record that Will Fuller came in the top 10 in any record.
Hamstrings pulled.
Ever. Jarvis Landry led the league in receptions for 4
He's
for
too
4
damn
years.
fast, man. He gets
and Will
tires can't
Fuller
hold.
has watched people catch shit
It's
around
weird
him.
to me how much you love Jarvis Landry, but you hate Odell Beckham because Odell Beckham is like 10 times the
I'm
receiver.
not even a huge. When Landry came over to the Browns 2 years ago, I was like, he's not a number 1 guy, and I probably said on here, he's not a number 1 guy. He's not. I still stand by that.
Who?
But Landry. But
Right.
the
That's
fact,
what we're arguing about. You just said he was the number one guy, and you're like,
he's not a number one guy. He's not. I said he's better than Will Fuller. That's the whole argument. Whatever you want in your mind is fine. But I think Will Fuller is Will Fuller is like seriously. Will Fuller is like this. I'm being nice. Is probably like the 25th best receiver in the league.
So
and
what's
that's being
Landry?
Super nice.
So what is Landry then?
6.
Top 6? Oh, fuck that.
Name me 6 better than name me 6 better than Landry.
I'll do it in 6 seconds. DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, AJ Green.
Okay. No.
Not AJ Green is not
It's
better than
close.
Jarvis Landry.
It's close.
I'll give you Devontae Parker is better than Jarvis Landry.
They're the same fucking player.
Devontae Adams.
Okay, yeah, we can put Devontae Adams.
No, absolutely not.
What do you mean? He's the best receiver.
Absolutely not.
Well, now,
absolutely.
I thought we were bringing facts into this argument.
Yeah, I know. Just opinions. Thank you. Thank
Who's
God.
better, Kenny Galladay or Jarvis Landry?
Oh man, I'm a Galladay guy. You gotta go with baby.
Why are you shaking your head?
Baby Megatron, man.
Come on.
That's a guy.
Are you kidding me right now? Look,
Dude,
Galladay
Galladay's
is
a
okay. It's
stud.
all right.
Galladay is a stud.
In your opinion, that's
he was
great.
out
I'm
there with
looking on
Jeff
actual-
Driscoll.
Why
I
am
said
I
baseball
having
with
this
Jeff Driscoll,
fucking
for God's
argument
sake.
that
You said-
Jarvis Landry? I'm not a fucking.
You said name me 6 better than Jarvis Landry. I was trying to do it off the top of my head, but I have the page here. Okay.
Keenan Allen, Thomas.
Stop me when,
Keenan Allen.
stop me
would
when
be close.
somebody's not as good as Jarvis Landry. Michael Thomas, Julio Jones.
What? Michael Thomas? No.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking. Sorry. Go.
Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, Chris Godwin.
No, not Chris Godwin.
Not
Fuck off.
be- not-
He had
not-
one good year. One good year. Not Godwin. Anyways,
Whatever. What the fuck were we talking about? Anyways, 10 minutes ago.
you said Landry would be a one guy on more teams. Yeah, absolutely. And he absolutely would be. Name me. Okay, better argument.
Cooper Kupp is Jarvis Landry. Put it to you that way.
Man, I think Jarvis Landry's a more athletic Julian Edelman.
I mean,
Well,
if we're
these
just
are
talking
all-
stats, and Landry's better than anybody you've even mentioned.
No, Michael Thomas, Julio
He's
Jones.
better. He's probably more catches than he does.
Will Fuller's Marquise Brown.
Who gives a shit about catches? You can catch
Who gives a
100.
shit about catches as a wide receiver? That makes no sense.
Hey, man.
Okay, Michael Thomas had 150 catches this year, so he's better than Michael Thomas.
Overall, I'm talking about. Michael Thomas might have more
He
catches
spent
career.
Come on,
That's
don't
fine.
you watch the? He spent 4 years on the Dolphins catching
and was
6-yard in
and was
routes.
doing better than
With Adam
anybody else.
Gase, with Adam Gase though.
He's
with Adam
catching
Gase.
6-yard in routes. Look at the average depth of target. That matters. Like, okay, so Christian McCaffrey is a better receiver than like whoever the fuck else because he catches like 15 screen passes and runs for 80 yards. Like, what the fuck?
Jarvis, you're saying Will Fuller is better than Jarvis Landry? Is what I'm
Is this a weird hill to die on? The Jarvis Landry hill. Like, he's not that good.
stretch.
I'm not gonna lie. If I was to put an amount,
all day on that, bro.
Better than who?
Better than Fuller.
Okay, but
There's 4 better Fullers because he's the 5th one.
oh damn! Wow, that was aggressive. I like that.
I'm not saying Jarvis Landry is this fucking Hall of Famer, but I'm saying if you can name, I mean, Jarvis Landry's, I mean, it's absolute insanity. I think Jarvis Landry's better than Keenan Allen.
Kenny Galladay, by the way, this more yards this year than Jarvis Landry.
Great.
Yeah, Matty Ice, what's up?
Moving on. Agree to disagree. Let's get back to whatever we were
Makes
talking about. I
no
forgot what it was.
sense.
Anything about the Houston-Kansas City game? Was anybody surprised that they came back from 24?
No.
I mean, let alone they was in within 1 quarter.
No, I am as big as a fanboy of Patrick Mahomes and probably his girlfriend is, and I think it's a little ridiculous what he can do. Like I think,
They literally ran out of fireworks.
yeah, no, but that's
Bad job by them, too.
But that's
'cause
also Kansas City. It's like, guys, like, you know, maybe if you lived in St. Louis, you guys have a little bit more money. It's a Kansas City thing probably, but I don't know. Like,
Jesus.
yeah, I'm going economy on this one.
You're going to offend all the Kansas City fans. that are
Dude,
watching.
sorry, I've been in both. I honestly, sorry, Micah, I hated Kansas City, dude. I did like St. Louis more than Kansas City. But in general, I do want to see Kansas City, Green Bay. That's what I really want to see. I think Green Bay is going to beat out. Everyone's talking about that San Fran game that they got blown out in. Aaron Rodgers has talked
8
about the
points or
game
some
multiple
shit.
times.
So we'll do one more thing. I just want to do the Seattle Green Bay game, and then we'll get to like next week's games. And all
Oh, that was
kind
the
of shit.
most boring
It's
game
just
in the
chicken
freaking
scratch.
world.
It's like the if you watch Always Sunny in
I think
Philadelphia,
Clowney
it's
made
just the
better
maze that Charlie
headlines.
puts up. Seattle Green Bay. This is the game I think that nobody had. If you're betting, nobody had any idea what to do. So it's one of those ones
No,
where
but
you
it was
maybe
like I felt like you should pick Green Bay in the spread, just because Green Bay was just. Here's the thing, like Seattle can't defend the run. what's Green Bay best at right now? Is running the ball. And then they have Aaron Rodgers, who's a very efficient, doesn't turn the ball over. I just didn't see that game at any point go in Seattle's favor.
I think,
you know what I mean?
I think the Chris Carson injury really fucked up Seattle's season.
Yeah. Anytime you ask Marshawn Lynch to come back and play football, you know you're really out of depth.
Yeah, and I was kind of joking about the apology to Marshawn Lynch because I love Marshawn Lynch and all that kind of stuff.
They asked me to apologize.
No, I was kind of kidding, but like seeing him play again, it's like, yeah, he's pretty much done.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if there's 3 yards in front of you.
But the Chris Carson thing, they couldn't run the ball. But let me ask you, is there a team that, other than Houston, there's a team that's wasting their quarterback more than Seattle's wasting Russell Wilson? Why do you try to run the ball 3 straight times and then punt, and you have Russell Wilson, and then in the fourth quarter, you're down 7, 10, 14, 13, 8, whatever, and then you just let him try to bring you back?
But that does
Why do you have to wait till the fourth quarter to unleash Russell Wilson?
But that does come down to the fact that they spend so much money on a quarterback, and that's part of now what happens. Like we talked about, your window at the quarterback is only about 4 years to where you don't have to do that.
Well, yeah, the 2 Russell Wilson eras, they had it when they didn't have to pay Russell Wilson and they had the defense, and now they're paying him and they don't have the defense anymore.
Yeah.
But the Chris Carson injury, like I said, they can't run the ball.
It sounds like Clowney's not coming back either.
So don't even, which would be, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, Clowney says he wants to be on a contender. He says he doesn't. Clowney said he's not looking for the biggest contract. He's looking for the best contender because he wants to win. He says he doesn't want to sacrifice his body out here anymore.
Money.
Yeah, that's the thing. He has made his money. This tag was very, I mean, like he's made a good amount. He's going to make a great amount of money regardless of where he goes.
Yeah.
He just wants
It's not like he's going to be sacrificing a huge amount of money.
Yeah, exactly. He just wants to win wherever he goes next, which when you look at it, teams that need a pass rusher, that can afford it, that are still on rookie deals at quarterbacks, Kansas City, you still look at...
I was literally thinking Kansas City.
Houston's not going to happen because it looks like they won't bring him back because they're not going to pay him the amount he wants. Which if you look at it, Houston was missing them. What do they really need against Mahomes this year? Was a pass rush.
A general manager?
Yeah, I guess. But I mean,
that might help with
Houston needs a new coach, and I think McDaniels is still a quiet option to possibly
How
go to
is Bill
Texans.
O'Brien still? I don't understand this at all. Like you're just wasting Deshaun Watson's best years, literally. Like
I'm the only Deshaun Watson hater. I'm just not a huge guy, man.
I'm a big Watson fan.
I
just
agree
think,
that he's underachieved, but he's also been put in a situation where Bill O'Brien has been his head coach for his whole career.
This is the first year that he's had a decent offensive line, but he's still missing that running game. I know people
He doesn't have a
talking
number 2 wide receiver.
They just need a Will Fuller. I mean,
they need
a Jarvis Landry trade.
They need a running
Jarvis
game
Landry
too
was
on
that team. It's a
team.
fucking Super Bowl team. It fucking is. We're talking about Will fucking Fuller. Was he number 3 to fucking Kute or something last year?
Look up the difference when he's in the game and when he's not in the game.
But
That's all I'm saying.
that defense just gave up like 50 points. The defense is now the big question mark with Houston. That was never the question mark.
The defense is one thing, but if you're up 24-0, you should win.
Yeah, but if your defense gives up, 50-something points, it's kind of hard. Like, this isn't a...
But you had a 24-point head start.
No, and I get that, but your defense does have to stop.
If your defense gives up 30 points a game, then 24 is not enough.
Yeah, like your defense does still have to
24 in the first quarter?
That's what I'm saying.
That leaves it even more time for them to come back.
If anything,
They only scored 7 after that.
But if you're down 24, it makes the offense more predictable. They're not going to run the ball a hell of a lot.
It also makes the Chiefs pretty yeah, that's what I'm
saying.
Yeah.
That defense is really, because I am a Watson fan. I do get it. I'm going to protect him.
He's
a little bit more
awesome,
on
but
this
he's
one.
not put in a good situation. The same thing as Russell Wilson is put in a shit situation.
But I will say that, we'll see this week, but I think if they don't, then, but what I'm saying is, if this defense could somewhat step up, because the defense is completely depleted, there's no pass rush, nobody can defend a receiver. Travis Kelce was doing it. Travis Kelce was being guarded by corners and still shaking them off. Like, Kelce was literally just having his way with
Kelce should never
everybody.
be guarded by a corner. I mean,
Well, with athletic ability,
He has to be. He can shake off linebackers.
linebackers not athletic enough for
He
him.
has to be guarded by corner.
The guy who was guarding him for the Texans was Lonnie Johnson, and he wound up getting hurt, which is why Kelce started going off in the second half.
I understand, but when you're doubling up on a tight end though, and he's still able to get free, like that's a problem.
It's also tough for the Texans. I mean, for the Chiefs to guard the Chiefs because you have all these guys. Every single guy, all their receivers can go 70 yards at any time.
They're all.
And then you have Kelce, who's like the possession guy in the middle.
Yes, Kelce's the best overall receiving threat on that team.
He's not even a tight end, right? He's a receiver
No,
in
yeah,
a tight end slot.
yeah.
He'll tell you that.
It's like the Jimmy Graham thing when they try to franchise tag him as a
Right,
tight
but
end.
Kelsey's even faster.
Right.
Yeah, and he's not as much of a female dog, let's say. Jimmy Graham just like pumping up the crowd was just like, dog, like, Jimmy, sit down. He caught like 12 balls this year. Like, sit down.
He seemed like he had a much bigger game than he had 50 yards, but it seemed like a huge game for him.
Because Jimmy Graham, they beat the Seahawks, and this is him parading about. Like,
dude, you sucked with the Seahawks.
Like,
Trust
dude,
me, I
if
drafted
you
you in fantasy. I thought you'd be good with Russell Wilson.
I just, when you watch Mahomes and this team that they had coming in, like, my biggest thing with Mahomes, because he said weapons for days, like, their receivers are good receivers, but they're not, like, they're receivers that can run one or two routes, and then you have Travis Kelce. And then you have a quarterback that can throw literally out of the end zone consistently from wherever he's down the field.
Le Batard said one of the funniest.
Good point.
Le Batard said one of the funniest things. He said because the Chiefs game was first, he's like, I was watching the Seahawks Green Bay game and I was half expecting Mecole Hardman to just come running into the screen and score a touchdown like out of nowhere. It's like just more. He just comes out of nowhere and just. He's the one who ignited it with that whole return and everything that sparked the team. But to transition into next week, I'll just ask like the simple question for both of you guys. And people would have said the same thing this week, so just before you answer, can the Titans beat the Chiefs?
Yes, they can, but I don't think they will.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's not going to be the same kind of game as the Texans. The Titans are not as limited as the Texans. As weird as it sounds.
You're facing a better quarterback, too, this time.
Name me
as
why
a quarterback.
it's more likely for them to lose to the Chiefs than it would be for them to lose to the Patriots and lose to the Ravens.
Well,
I can't find it.
I would say
the Ravens had better offense than the Chiefs this year.
I would say the thing about that is you have Deshaun Watson against the Chiefs, so you would have more faith in Deshaun Watson beating the Chiefs than Ryan Tannehill.
No, that's not the question. No, name me why you think that it's less likely for the Titans to beat the Chiefs than it was for the Titans to beat the Ravens or the Patriots.
Just because the Chiefs can come back from 24-0, and once
the Ravens game, they had the best offense in the league.
No, well, they had a run
at home.
No, I'm not saying they didn't. I'm saying in the way that you're phrasing the question, the Chiefs' offense is different from the Ravens. The Ravens had the best offense as far as efficiency and running
and yards, whatever.
And rushing though. I mean,
they had a lot of chunk plays too as a team with running the ball.
We just saw it against the Titans.
And play action.
We just saw it against the Titans.
So best offense, however you do it, is best offense.
Okay,
right?
as you're phrasing it, so I'll phrase the question back to you: who is more likely to come back from a 24-point deficit? The Ravens, the way they play offense, or the Chiefs, the way they play offense?
That's a good point.
The Ravens
Probably
offense, the Ravens offense is very methodical. Once they get ahead, they just run it down your throat. And of course, they had a really good offense this year, but Mahomes is the only guy who can come back, like we said.
And that's my point when we talk about Lamar. When I say Lamar is not the quarterback Mahomes is, people freak out because they immediately
That's not an insult.
But they immediately think, because he can throw it, blah, blah, blah.
Who's Mahomes? Nobody's Mahomes.
Mahomes can fall down backwards on his back foot, throw across his body, to the other sideline, and it's going to be a perfect pass. You cannot stop that. That's something you physically know. Every defensive coordinator looks and say, you can't stop him. You can slow him down. It's like LeBron James. You can't stop him.
That doesn't mean it's going to be accurate. I mean, it also doesn't mean that it's going to be completed. Like, who would you rather have, Mahomes or Tom Brady?
Mahomes.
Are you fucking high?
Right now, yeah, without a doubt, Mahomes. Well, and like Mahomes. Right now, yeah.
Right now?
No, Tom Brady.
So if you're,
are you kidding me?
As a Cowboys fan, I'd rather have Mahomes than Tom Brady.
Even if Tom Brady had these weapons, he can't throw the ball 4 yards down the field.
Maybe a season of a playoff, Tom Brady?
Right now, I still take Mahomes, man. Mahomes made the AFC Championship last year and lost it in overtime.
You know who won the AFC Championship last year? Tom Brady.
Yeah, I know, but also let's not forget their defense was also top tier coming into that playoff too, though. But it's a lot easier.
Fucking, they had the number one. Oh, anyway.
I'm just saying, Patrick Mahomes does not have a Stephon Gilmore anywhere on that team. He doesn't have a McCourty on that team. Yeah, he doesn't have McCourty anywhere on that team. He doesn't have Van Noy anywhere on that team. I mean, even Frank Clark was even playing that last game.
Now, granted, in this argument, I still think I would rather have Mahomes. But if you want to make the argument on Brett's case, what Patrick Mahomes just did, Tom Brady did against Atlanta in the Super Bowl, with not as good players.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah, but I mean,
with Gronk still.
Well, my big thing too is like when we're talking, like I said, when we're talking about Mahomes, it's just like the talent level you have to beat on that. It's just you can game plan against a Lamar Jackson. They proved it.
Right.
I think it's a lot tougher to game plan. It's like you can't really game plan against Aaron Rodgers.
You think the Texans didn't think that when they were down 24, they were throwing every time? It didn't matter.
Yeah, they knew what was going to happen. But it's like it's hard to game plan against Aaron Rodgers. It is a natural talent. It's hard to game plan against that. You just hope everything else works in its favor.
I think going back to the Titans-Chiefs matchup, the only thing
I'm not doing that. But anyways, yeah.
I love the Titans, and I want to stay behind them and all that kind of stuff. 7.5, the points and everything. But
How is it not more?
because of what we just saw, I think
Totes?
I think the Chiefs got more credit for falling behind 24 and coming back than if they would have just won 50-28.
Right. Well, I mean, not many teams think that they're going to go up 21 up, and then the Chiefs are going to come back.
So the argument for the Chiefs is the way the Titans win is they get up 14-0 and they just run the ball and run the clock. But Patrick Mahomes, if you watch most of those drives, needs 3 minutes or less.
I'm liking Toads so far.
So
Possibly,
it's tough to pick the Titans when their game is possession, get up early, and
Which is what they did against. I mean, the Patriots are kind of the same
But their offensive strength is running the ball.
I will
And
say
that's what
if the Titans were up 24-0 they win that game.
Okay. Yeah.
Against the
tells me
Chiefs.
nobody's ever been.
I mean, the
Texans.
Texans had no running game. I mean, with Duke Johnson, everybody, raise your hand if you've had Duke Johnson on your fantasy team before.
I actually never do it.
I mean, I have before, but not this past year.
No,
but,
everybody's had him before.
What's Toads like in sports? I'm trying to figure out what Toads like so far. What kind of sports
I'm not
is
giving
Toads
into
like?
the nonsense.
What do you guys? Who's Toads? Is that Toto?
Oh, yeah, you're right. I mean,
Okay.
anything else we want to get to?
So the other
prediction.
the other game we didn't talk about, which was going to be San Francisco and Green Bay. I guess. So are you guys picking the Chiefs or are you picking the Titans?
I'm picking Chiefs.
I'm going to stick with the Titans. Fuck it.
Really?
Yeah. At this point.
Shock factor?
No.
That
I
whole-
picked them
Say you're right.
Whole
No, I picked them
25
last
minute
week.
speech about
I'm just
how
saying, but, like,
the
shock
Titans
factor.
can't come back ever against the Chiefs.
You don't think the Titans can beat the Chiefs?
No, I said earlier, I think they can. I just like.
This is not my argument for like 10 minutes. I was like, why can't the Titans come back? You're like, well, because they play a whole totally different game.
I'm just making the case for both sides, like why you would say. But if they get ahead, so anyways,
Going back and forth.
Green Bay, San Francisco. Let's start anew.
San Francisco.
I think
100%.
Green Bay. I
Easily,
think it's like
easily.
a revenge game for Aaron Rodgers. After that loss, he's talked a lot about that loss.
The
this
only
year.
thing is watching that.
Well, yeah, because otherwise he'd just sit in silence like a monk.
Watching that Green Bay Seattle
crying
game,
about McCarthy.
I was kind of less encouraged by Aaron Rodgers, and I'm the biggest Aaron Rodgers fan in the world. Probably not, but one of them. But he can't move like he used to, and if you can't run around like he used to, I mean, if this is Aaron Rodgers 5, 6, 7 years ago, but against that defensive line who we talked about earlier, DeForest Buckner, Solomon Thomas, Bosa, all those guys, and then the scheme that they're going to run, if it's Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, and I mean, Aaron Jones has been good, but like the San Francisco, they can stop the run. The only chance I think that they have is for Jimmy G to have like a really bad game, which I mean, he didn't have a great game last week and he still won.
They don't need to have great games offensively. That defense is going to be. We talked about this earlier.
Right.
They're never like, holy shit, they beat the shit out of that game. Like that team like twice this year.
They also
the
don't-
Packers were one.
They also don't beat themselves either.
Right. I think it's San Francisco by. Oh, I'm not going to call a score, but I think it's San Francisco for sure. I'll wager bet you a friendly $10 Venmo.
So,
Cool, man.
what is it? San Francisco
I'm
against?
going Green Bay.
Green Bay.
Okay.
Straight
Green
up.
Bay, man.
I have no idea. I mean, I'll figure something out during the week. So what do you guys' Super Bowl predictions?
Well,
Chiefs, Packers, Chiefs.
Chiefs, Packers, Chiefs win?
Yep.
Yeah, it would be cool if it was Chiefs, Packers, I think.
49ers, Chiefs, and man, that's tough. Niners, fuck it.
Oh man, Jimmy G will finally get a ring he actually earned.
Titans, Packers, Titans.
Fuck it.
Yeah, fuck it, who cares anyways, right?
Titans, Packers. If you would have told me the Super Bowl's the Titans and Packers, I probably
Ryan
not known.
Tannehill's
If you told me the Titans
return.
were going to be in the playoffs, I'd call you.
Ryan Tannehill goes back to Miami for a home game for the Super Bowl.
Oh. Well, him at home wasn't the greatest of all things. Hell, I don't know, man.
Boom.
He does.
There you go.
How long are we going? Do you guys want to get into the baseball thing at all?
Yes,
or?
I want to show everyone I got the best picture of baseball right here.
Oh,
yeah,
Jesus
that's right.
Christ.
Garrett Cole. We're looking great coming in.
If you didn't
right
already
now.
hate the Yankees enough, Rob's showing his Garrett Cole jersey.
I'll make sure. Thank you, Daniel.
Guy gets
I
up a
appreciate
shit
you,
ton of
bro.
home runs a year. I know that.
Contract their shirt to regret
Like
5
Max
years from
Scherzer,
now.
they both
you go.
give up like fucking 100 home runs a year.
So the baseball thing we're talking about is the cheaters.
I mean, like,
the Astros and then Stretch's team with Alex Cora. Yeah,
Jesus.
they're not going to unprint the shirts, as Stretch says.
He's flaunting his Red Sox
Yeah,
shirt
he has no
behind
shame.
the camera.
Yeah, everybody cheats.
Well, he has shame because he's behind the
Stop it.
camera, so it's
He's
okay.
using the scoreboard to let everyone know there's a sign that he has it going on right now. Just give him a moment right now. How's it feel, man? Cora's gone. We got this guy gone.
Yankees are
What?
Legs ain't gone.
I mean, the ring that he got, the ring. It's just like, I don't know, man. It should be-
Yeah, that's great. Good job, Tate.
literally, his career took off when he left Miami.
Well, he was 0-6 against Tom Brady before that. And by the way, Tom Brady in a major spot is what, like 15-3. Mahomes in a big spot is 0-1.
Okay, but he's been in the
taking
league
Mahomes.
for 3 years. Give him a break. Like, come on. Is Mahomes better at this point?
That doesn't mean that I'm wrong.
Is Mahomes better at this point in his career than Brady was at that point in his career? Brady was a game manager to start, and he's a game manager now.
Yeah, you're right. He wasn't throwing for 500 yards in the Super Bowl or anything like that. He's a game manager. He's not David Garrard,
That
bro.
was 3
He's
or
Tom
4 years
Brady.
ago. We're talking about right now. That was before Patrick Mahomes was Patrick Mahomes. You're talking about the Atlanta Super Bowl or the Philadelphia Super Bowl?
I mean, we have a plethora of Super Bowls to go through. How many can we talk about Mahomes?
Which Philadelphia?
He's been in the league for 3 years.
Okay, so Brady was in the league for 3 years and won a Super Bowl. That doesn't mean that. I mean,
With
Super
the
Bowls don't mean
defense.
anything. But I'm just saying,
that's a whole
in the big
defense
spot. In the big spot. I'm not talking. Rings seriously don't mean anything. But in the big spot,
The only way this argument will be decided is like 15 years from now when Mahomes is retired. So 15th year anniversary. Be sure to tune in.
when Mahomes has 0 rings and Brady's still got the same.
He's gonna win one this year probably. What do you mean 0 rings? Why do you hate Mahomes? What did he hurt you or?
No, I'm not supposed to say.
He steals somebody's sandwich or the chicken tenders
It's
from the locker
still
room.
pending. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There was someone they picked up in the draft instead of Mahomes.
No, Brett had this story of like some pitcher he hates because he wouldn't allow
Fucking DeGrom, yeah.
because he wouldn't allow a guy to eat like a chicken tender.
That's it.
sub.
That's all there is to the story. That's it. That's all I know. He's like, oh, please don't take that. And then he ran away like a bitch.
some guy in the locker room tried to get like a sandwich or something, and the guy's DeGrom's like, that's for players, and now Brett hates it.
Yeah, I remember.
He totally demeaned one of the members of the Phillies who was just trying to do his job, who ordered all the food, grabbed one of the 100 sandwiches. Like, fuck you, man. Why are you grabbing that? And he's like, well, because I mean, there's 100. Are you gonna eat 100? He's like, no, fuck you. Get the fuck out of here. Get out of my face. Look like a piece of shit. And so
I will tell you,
sorry for thinking he's a piece of shit for him belittling somebody.
I will tell you,
Sorry about that.
I did the.
I am an asshole.
I
Sorry
did the
about
holiday party for the Dolphins. One of the guys I work with, his family does the catering for the Dolphins, and I work with them. They were all very nice.
Nice.
I served mussels. It was awesome.
Very cool.
I was like, what are these hot girls doing here? And then later I was like, man, there was a lot of hot girls. And I was like, yeah, the cheerleaders were there. I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
And then Landry spit on your face, and that's why you hate Landry. That has to be why. Has to be why you think Landry is worse than Will Fuller.
The Will Fuller take. This was an episode dedicated to Will Fuller versus Jarvis Landry.
It's absolute.
Oh my God! Anybody who's stuck with
insanity.
anyone who's stuck with this long, protect your chickens. That's
your
why you're not in
chickens.
Bundesliga. Thank you guys for watching so much.
Bundesliga.
The Marshawn Lynch thing, protect your chicken. Did you guys see that press conference?
Yeah.